everyone, it's Christine. Hope everyone is hanging in, doing okay today. First time I've done anything of this nature, so bear with me. I've only taught thousands of classes, but there's something different about doing it in front of a camera. So I'm going to be leading you through a few classes, going to touch a number of our parts of our body, a little bit of everything. I'm going to introduce to you my little pal here, Shelby, who will probably make an appearance now and again, if nothing but comedic distraction. So anyway, I'm going to invite you to sit comfortably. I'm sitting on a yoga block. If you don't have yoga blocks, that's fine. You can sit on books, you can sit on pillows. The nice thing about practicing in your living room is that we have things. We have pillows, we have blankets, we have sofas, we have ottomans, different things that we can use as props. So feel free to grab anything that makes you comfortable. And we're going to start either seated or by all means lie down. I'm going to stay seated so you can see me, but you can also do this lying down. And I'm going to ask you just to, feel like your sitting bones are grounded evenly if you are sitting. If you're lying down, just be comfortable lying down with your legs either straight or bent, your choice. And then you're just going to close your eyes and really take a moment to kind of bring your body and your mind together. So I always like to point out that sometimes our body is in one place, but our mind is at another. And so part of what we want from our yoga practice is to bring them together. So I always like to start my classes just, taking a little bit of time to kind of settle your heart rate, settle your wandering thoughts, and then just letting things kind of settle. And then slowly, just focusing on your breathing, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. So nothing particularly dramatic at this point in time, just focusing on your breathing. Make it a conscious effort to breathe in and then to breathe out. And then depending on how you're feeling, if you want to elongate your exhale a little bit more than your inhale, by all means do so. But the only thing I'm going to ask you to do is make sure you're breathing through the nose. And then as you start to feel things become a little bit quieter, perhaps in your mind or in your body, think about your breathing and the movement that it can create in your body. So I like to focus on my rib cage. So when you inhale, I'd like you to think about the whole diameter of the rib cage expanding. The front, the sides, and also the back. And then when you exhale, just feel a gentle drawing in. So inhaling, feeling that expansion around the whole diameter of the rib cage. And then let it relax. So we're often more familiar with the sensation of the breath in the front of the body, less so with the back of the body. So when you inhale, maybe take a little bit more attention, a little bit more focus on that back body. And really feeling those back ribs lift up. And then trying to hold that length in the spine. So I often refer to the spine as that center axis in the body. And then from there we have the right side and the left side. Want to maintain, for now, a relatively neutral position. Just a few more breaths. Now we're going to start a little bit of pelvic movement. So you can use the front hip bones as markers. And we're going to do some pelvic tilting while we're seated again or lying down. So these front hip bones are going to lift up and back, which we call a posterior tilt. And then they're going to rock forward and down for an anterior tilt. And you're going to keep going. Just trying to rock that pelvis, trying to keep the upper part of your spine relatively still. And just with the pelvis moving, you're going to probably feel some movement in your lumbar spine, which is totally fine. So let that pelvis rock back. This time let it go a little bit further. Can you round the lower back even more? And then let the hip bones come forward, and you're going to feel your lower back arch. Just rocking that pelvis one direction, another direction, and there will be some natural movement in your lumbar spine, which I always take as a good reminder that the movement of the pelvis is going to affect the spine. So here we have proof. Right here, we move the pelvis, and it's impossible not to move the spine. Just rocking that pelvis one direction, another. If you're finding out there's not very much movement, that's okay. It's just your intention is just to try to move. Maybe it's just a little tiny bit, but that's the direction of the movement. It's just rocking that pelvis. Then once we have visited those two ranges, we're going to try to settle somewhere in the middle. So I describe this as the hip bones having suspenders, and you're pulling those suspenders up to the ceiling, making your spine nice and long. We're going to hold it here. You're going to let your left hand come down to the floor. If you're elevated on more blocks, you can put a block there also. And reach the right arm up, and you're going to reach that arm over the head, but keep that right sitting bone heavy. And then I'm going to take a few breaths now into the side ribs. Can you direct that breath into the side ribs and feel like the side ribs are going to bellow out with the breath? Deep, deep inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And then we'll lower that right arm. Should feel a bit lopsided now. Then the right hand is going to ground down. Left sitting bone grounds down. Going to reach that left arm up and then reach it over the head. Keeping that left sitting bone heavy. And again, just feel that breath really expand that part of the rib cage. Long, slow inhale, long, slow exhale. And then we'll come back up. So for this one, I'm going to move sideways here so you can see a little bit of my spine. So now we're going to start moving the spine a little bit more. You'll place your hands on your knees and really going to get a good grip. Then you're going to do that posterior tilt. Rock those hip bones back. And now consciously lift and round your lower back. Back ribs are lifting, lower back is rounding. And then you'll round the thoracic. Keep that breastbone lifting up and tuck the chin. So I'm not dumping forward, it's just the spinal movement. Then from that flex spine position, we're going to go the other way. Let the pelvis come forward and then start to wave up. Head goes back a little bit. Now try to keep the upper back in extension and let those sitting bones go back. Round a little bit at a time. Lower back rounding, lower ribs, middle back, and then shoulders, chin tucks. Then hold that rounded and start to arch up. And then I'm going to ask you just to do a few of these on your own, and I want you to think about a wave action. So I'm going to start at the bottom and just picturing that every vertebra, or maybe a couple of vertebrae, are moving versus a more global movement. Last one. Just feel that beautiful rounding in the lower back. Keeping your shoulders in check here, not letting them move. And then wave up. Pardon me while I take care of my dog. Shelby, come here. Go on. Good girl, stay. Stay. Good. What is it about dogs and yoga mats? As soon as I put my yoga mat out, my dog wants to join me. Okay, so when you're done, you're going to do a little bit of work on the floor. And I think you can see me here. So you're going to lie down on one side. Doesn't really matter which side, because we're going to do both at the same. We're going to do both eventually. And we're going to have our legs at 90 degrees. Your head is just resting on your arm in whatever way is comfortable. And then from here, you're going to squeeze the knees together, lift the bottom waist a little bit from the floor so you feel a little bit of space underneath those ribs. Stack the hips, they're not going to move. And then from here, you're going to place your palm on the top knee, put some pressure, and then lift the whole leg up into that pressure. And then put the hand at the inner knee, and you're going to push down through the leg as you're resisting the hand up. And then keep going. We're going to do 3 more. Lifting that leg without moving the pelvis. Lift it up, take it as high as you can without that pelvis rolling. And then take the hand to the bottom knee and push down, push down, push down. Go nice and slow, almost slow motion. Bring it down, and then hand to the top. The whole leg pushes up, pushes up, pushes up. You're going to feel right around that outer hip. One of my favorite body parts to work. And then hand on the inner knee, push down, push down, push down. And then you're going to, one more time, lift up. And then press it down. Then you're going to squeeze the knees together. And we're going to lift that knee and lower the knee. Just do that a few times. Again, you're going to feel that top hip getting some work there. Then you're going to hold the knees together and lift only the foot. Just working into some internal rotation. Just lifting and lowering. Squeeze the knees. And if you place your hand up that outer hip, you're going to feel some muscle action there. That's glute med, a key stabilizer for the pelvis. And again, one of my favorite muscles to bring to life in our yoga practice. The last one, you're going to lift it up. You're going to hold it here, and then slowly lower it down. So now I'm going to create a little bit of circling. You're going to lift that leg, hug the thigh to the chest a lot. Feels that squeeze at the hip flexors. Then open the knee out. Do not let that top hip move. We're going to come into an internal rotation, and then take that thigh back. Keep the back of the knee squeezing together. Move the thigh back, and then bring it forward. Then we'll go the other way. Move the thigh back. Make sure it doesn't go into your lower back. Just press that thigh back as far as you can. And then we'll make a big sweeping circle around. And then hug the thigh back in. Let's do that one more time. Start in neutral. Hug the thigh in. Take a moment here to squeeze. Squeeze as if you had something in the hip crease that you're trying to squeeze. As if there's something in the back knee you're trying to squeeze. Hold that squeeze. And then lift the leg up as high as you can without moving the hip. And then drop the knee. We're going into an internal rotation. The knee drops, the foot lifts, holding it here nice and slow, like slow motion. And then start to take that thigh back, keeping that squeeze at the back of the knee. Taking the thigh back as far as you can without the hip going with it. And then bring it forward. And then we'll go the other way. Take the thigh back as far back as you can, holding it here nice and slow. Feel that hip crease press out. And then open it up. And then we'll lower it down. Pause. Reset the bottom waist a little bit lifted from the floor. And you're going to extend that leg straight. So the leg is in line with the hip. You're going to hold it here. Then I'm going to lift that leg up. Sorry, you can't see my leg, but it is there. I just do little pulses here, nice and slow. So often when I teach this, I see people doing this. No, keep the inner line of the leg strong. Outer hip, you're going to feel that, nice and slow. So the general rule in yoga, in movement, the slower you go, mostly, the better it is. Nice and slow. Lift and lower, lift and lower, lift and lower, and then bring the knees back to squeeze. Then you're going to keep the hips stacked. You're just going to roll that top shoulder towards the floor. Let your head go, let that shoulder go. Keep those knees squeezing together, and then I'll leave it up to you. Your hand can either rest here at your shoulder, or you can extend the arm. For me, that arm extending is a little bit too rough on my shoulder. And what I really want to focus on here is my thoracic spine, the vertebra between the shoulder blades, pressing forward to give me a little bit of thoracic extension. And then just keep going here. Keep going, keep going. It should feel really nice on your upper back. And then bring it back and pause. You're going to come up and you're going to go to the other side. I'm going to switch sides so I can stay within camera view. So again, you're going to start, your legs are 90 degrees. Shoulders are in line with your hips. Bottom waist lifts away from the floor a little bit. And then start to squeeze your knee as much as you can. Squeeze the knee. Place the hand at the top of the knee and push up. Push up, nice and slow. Creating your own resistance here. Then take the hand to the inside of the knee and push down. Push down. The more resistance you create, the more muscle effect you'll feel. And then just do that a couple of times more. Lifting up and then pressing down. And then again, pressing up as high as you can. Lift it up. Don't let that top hip move. And then press it down. And then pause. Keep the knees squeezing, the ankles squeezing. And you'll lift the leg, the knee, and lower it down. Just the knee's going to lift. Lift it up. Lower it down. One more. You're going to keep the knees squeezing. And then lift only the foot. You're going to feel that femur bone, that thigh move into an internal rotation. Lifting it up, lowering it down. One more time, lift and lower. Then squeeze the thigh to the chest. These are our hip circles, otherwise known as CARs, controlled articular rotation. But you don't need to know that. There's no test at the end. So squeeze that thigh in as much as you can. Lift the leg up. Squeezing the back of the knee. Then drop the knee, lift the foot. You're going to do an internal rotation and take the thigh back without going into your lower back. Front of the hip crease presses out. And then bring it forward. Then we'll go the other way. Take the leg back. Press the knee back, thigh back, without affecting the spine. And then make a sweeping circle around. And then lower it down. Let's do it again. Again, we do it nice and slow. Hug the thigh in. Feel the hip crease light up. And then back of the knee. Squeeze as tight as you can. And then we're going to lift that thigh as high as you can without moving the hip. Drop the knee, drop the knee, drop the knee. And then take the thigh back. We'll visit hip extension, holding it here. And then bring it forward. Then we'll go the other way. Take it back. Take that thigh back as far as you can, holding it here. Then big sweeping circle around. Squeeze. And then lower it down. Pause here. Bottom waist, make sure it's lifted. You can take your top hand to the top of the thigh and reach that leg out. Reach that leg out. So it's straight. It's not quite straight. It's hitting my sofa. So you're going to straighten it out. And then again, you're going to lift it up. Little pulses. Slow pulses. Really try to feel like you're controlling the pulse from the inner thigh, just so that you know my dog's on the sofa behind me and she is licking my toes. Her favorite thing to do. Nice and slow. So that's why I'm laughing. Shelby, thank you for the foot bath. And then we're going to lower it down. Again, squeeze the knees. Don't let them move. And that top shoulder, roll it back. Roll it back as far as you can go. And then again, your choice whether that arm extends or not. I like to keep my hand more at my shoulder so I can really focus on the thoracic spine moving rather than exaggerating the shoulder stretch at this point in time. Let's take a few deep breaths here. Just keep rolling that shoulder back. And then we'll bring it all back. Pause for a moment. And then we're going to come on to our hands and knees. Come to tabletop position. So your wrists, sorry, I just have to adjust my mat. Your wrists are underneath your shoulders and your hips are over your knees. Here we are. So we want a neutral spine position. This is a tendency that I have and many of us have, is those back ribs want to lower down. So I want to think about the front ribs pulling up, not to a tuck. My pelvis is neutral here. I want my front ribs to pull in, and I want to keep them there. Then from here, I'm just going to hold. I'm going to press my hands into the floor, try to spread my shoulder blades across my upper back, and keep working on those ribs, holding them in and reaching the crown of the head forward. So this is what we're going to establish as our neutral spine today. And through whatever we do in this position, we want to try not to alter that neutral spine. So for me, it's these ribs. I really want to come into this, what I call breaking my lower back. So pull those ribs in, keep them there, holding it here. Then from here, we're going to curl the toes under without changing anything in your spine. Lift your knees just a little bit, tiny bit, maybe an inch, inch and a half, maybe half an inch. Then I'm going to hold that work, push the floor away, spread those shoulder blades across your upper back, holding it here, and then lower down. Pause. Then we're going to sit back. So you have a choice here. If sitting on your shins is comfortable, I invite you to do that. Sit on blocks, sit cross-legged, whatever you want to do. It's going to do a little bit more shoulder work. So I'm going to turn my back so you can see my shoulder blades. My arms are by my side. I'm going to lift my shoulder blades up and then push them down. Lift my shoulder blades up, push them down. Just do that a few times more. So I'm not lifting my arm bones. I'm lifting the shoulder blades and then I'm pushing them down. One more time. Lift them up, push them down, and now lock your hand by your side. Don't let them move. Squeeze shoulder blades together as if you had a pencil between the shoulder blades. You're trying to squeeze together and then wrap them away as much as you can. I'm not letting my arm bones come forward. It's just my shoulder blades. And then do that again. Squeeze together, pull them in, and then spread them apart. So I often describe this shoulder blade work as curtains opening and closing. Just imagine those inner lines of the shoulder blades opening and closing. These are just scapular movements. Then you're going to pause, and we're going to try to bring those movements together. Pull the shoulder blades apart, then lift them up, push them down, and squeeze them together. Pause. Then squeeze them together, push them down, protract them away from each other, and lift them up. And then pause. Let's do that 2 more times. Broaden them across your back, protracting, then lifting them up, pull them down, squeeze them together. Pause. Squeeze them together, pull them down, pull them away, and lift them up. And then last one. Let's do the last one on your own. So I know if you've not done this scapular movement before, it's kind of tricky to get. It took me a long time to get it, so don't feel bad. And just be happy to get any scapular movement. If you get any differentiated movement in your scapula, be happy. And then keep working on it. Keep working on it, and eventually they start to become more mobile on your back. And the mobility of your shoulder blades is directly related to the strength and control you can bring when you're doing yoga poses. So just do a little bit of that movement. Just get them moving in those 4 directions. And then you're going to pause here. From here, you're going to come up onto your hands and knees. And remember, step the right foot forward. So the front leg is square, back leg is square. So this back leg, I want the knee right underneath the hip. Oftentimes in our yoga practice, we're used to having it forward, making that lower back come into an arch. For this one, it's become kind of my new favorite, is 90 degrees on the back leg, 90 degrees on the front leg. And that's how I want you to try to stay. You're going to hold that, and then our hip bones, you're going to do some pelvic tilting. Lift the hip bones up and press them down. Lift them up, press them down. Just doing some pelvic tilts here. They might feel different from how you felt on the block, because I find as you move the body in different positions, some of these movements just feel different, but it's the same movement. Then you're going to hold it up. Notice that right hip wants to hike up. Use those muscles we warmed up to pull the hips in. Feel like you're really keeping those hips locked in place. And then we're going to extend those arms straight up, straight arms. Pull the front ribs in. Now, can you lift those same back ribs up so you're finding length through your spine without arching your back? Then we're going to lower the arms. Keep the arms really straight. Contract all the muscles of the arms. And then let's only do one arm at a time. We're going to internally rotate that right shoulder joint and then roll it back. I'll come a little bit closer, you can see. So that shoulder joint, arm bone, humerus bone, is rotating into an internal rotation, and then it's going to rotate out to an external rotation. Rotate it in, and then rotate it out. Again, one more. Pull it in. You're going to pause here, and I call this being a little bit selfish with yourself. It's like, can I roll it in a tiny bit more? Can I get a little bit more internal rotation there? And then external. Pause, and then can you get a little bit more? Holding it here. Release. Reach the arms straight up. Then we'll take the hands to the floor, step the leg back, come back to that tabletop position. Shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees. Front ribs in, curl the toes under, lift your knees just an inch. Keep those shoulder blades spread across your back. And I just want you to pay attention now to the difference. What do you feel on the right shoulder versus the left shoulder? Chances are you're going to feel a little bit more ease, a little bit more lightness in that right shoulder blade. So then you're going to pause here. You're going to come back up onto your knees, and we'll step the left foot forward. So again, front leg 90, back leg 90. That back knee is right underneath the hip. Front hip, or that left hip, pull it in, and we'll do a few pelvic tilts. Just rolling the hip bones up and back. Roll it up and then down. Again, I'll just demonstrate from the side. Lift those hip bones up, and we're going to bring that same pelvic tilt we were doing earlier. Then you're going to pause, and again, that left hip, it may want to go out, pull it in. Feel those hips really secure in your torso. You're going to reach that left arm out, holding it here, and again, you're going to internally rotate at the shoulder joint. Roll it in, and then roll it out. And then roll it in, and roll it out. Again, pull it in, slow as you can. Rotate that arm bone. And then rotate it up. External rotation, and then internal rotation. Last one. You're going to roll it in. Can you go a little bit more? Need a little bit more range in that joint. Then external, a little bit more range. Go to your max. And then pause, reach your arms straight up here. And then we'll release, hands to the floor. You're gonna step that leg back. You're gonna come to tabletop again. And now a little bit of weight bearing. You're gonna pull those ribs in. And we're gonna move the shoulder blades. Same thing you did a moment ago. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, pull them apart. Squeeze them together, move them apart. So what I'm not trying to do here is round my back. I'm trying to keep my spine in neutral, just move the shoulder blades. So there's a tendency here when we spread those shoulder blades to make it a spinal movement. Keep your spine neutral. It's just the shoulder blades. So again, if you're new to this work, you may not feel a lot of movement, so we want to make the movements bigger. Keep the movements smaller, make them very discrete movements, and then things will start to mobilize. Then you're going to hold them in this protracted position. I describe this as pushing the floor away. If you're really working on the protraction, you're going to feel these armpit muscles working. That's what we want. Holding it here, and I'm going to have you here. Come either into a hover, or can you hold that and come to plank? Holding it here. Don't want to lift my bum. I don't want to sag my bum. I want to pull those ribs in and spread those shoulder blades. Reach in the crown of the head. Reach the heels back. And then we'll come down, pause, and then from here, once again, or actually not once again, we come to downward dog. First downward dog, curl the toes under, lift your hips, push the hips back. You come into your downward dog. So our first downward dog always feels so nice. Surprised that Shelby's not here showing me how to do it. So we're going to press the hands away, and I'm going to encourage you here to move your shoulder blades. Move them away from the spine, towards the spine, away from center, towards center. Just get used to moving the shoulder blades. And then I'm going to just invite you now to find a place where you feel that the shoulder blades belong, other than to the ears. If that's where you think they belong, change that up. Do something else. You're going to hold that here. Then you're going to bend your legs. Bend your legs as much as you can. Bend your legs. Tilt your sitting bones to the ceiling. Try to get as much space as you can from the tips of the fingers to those sitting bones. Try to lift those sitting bones up a little bit higher. Then hold it here and try to straighten your legs. Pressing the thighs back, pressing the shins back. If you've been following my posts and you think this is the resting pose, you know better. Push those legs back. Push those legs back. Push the hips back. Keep those arms super straight. All the muscle of the arm should be working. Forearms, upper arms. And then again, I'm going to slowly bring it down to the knees. And then again, you're going to sit back either on your shins, sit on blocks, sit on a blanket, whatever you need, or even sit on your sofa. It doesn't really matter as long as you're sitting upright. So a little bit of wrist work. We're going to take your arms straight out in front of you. Turn the palms over. And I want you to think about the padding of the fingers, trying to meet the top pads of the palms. And you're going to squeeze them in. You're going to try to touch them in. So getting that first, or the middle knuckle. Get it in as much as you can. Pull it in as tight as you can. Then roll those fingertips in more, getting into the other knuckles, and squeeze your thumbs into making your fist nice and tight. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Reach those knuckles forward. Now can you move the shoulder blades away from the spine towards the spine? Away from the spine, protracting, into the spine, retracting. Again, pull them away. Pull them in. You're going to hold them in. Then from here, you're going to drop those knuckles to the floor. Reach them down. Feel a nice stretch on the top of the wrist. If you spend a lot of time on your computer, this is gold. Push them down. And then reach the knuckles forward. Move the shoulders away. Pull them in. Keep the shoulders away. Hold them in this protracted position. Again, feel those armpit muscles working. And reach those knuckles to the ceiling, making as many wrinkles as you can on the top of the wrist. Lift them up. Lift them up. And then reach them forward. One finger at a time. Reach. One finger at a time. Thumb. And then push like you're stopping a truck. Push. Let those shoulder blades move away from the spine, but don't let them elevate. Keep them down and pull them apart. Push. And then keep those palms straight. Reach those fingertips to the floor. Make wrinkles on the bottom of your wrist. Point those fingertips down. And then straight. One more time. Without bending the palm, reach those palms forward. Reach. Let the shoulder blades help. and then forward, and then down. And then pause, shake it out. Come back onto your hands and knees. Sorry, I keep flipping around. I'm trying to get a best position for you to see. You're going to find that secure tabletop, front ribs in, broaden the shoulder blades. Find as much strength as you can through that inner torso, and we're not going to let that shift. Extend your right leg straight back so you can't see it, but my toes are on the floor. I want that leg to be super straight, and then my left arm is going to go out. Front the ribs in, holding it here, and then I'm going to try to lift my right leg any amount, but don't change your spine. So when that leg lifts, those front ribs have to pull in even more, holding it here. Strong. Now my dog's licking my fingertips just so that you know, and then we'll bring it down. Thank you, Shelby. Ready? Other side. So reset. Broaden those shoulder blades. Pull those ribs in. Left leg. Point the toes back. When you point those toes back, I want you to feel the glutes on that leg start to fire up. Holding it here. Reaching the arms straight out in front of you. And then lifting that back leg. Any amount, as long as it doesn't go into your lower back. Holding it here. Left shoulder blade. Keep it pulling away from the spine. And then bring it all back in. Knees to the floor. Have your feet almost together, knees apart. And then you're going to go back, but not all the way. Not all the way. You're going to extend the arms forward. Just do a little bit more shoulder work. Now reach, have your palms down. Then let's turn your hands so the baby finger side is on the floor. Lift that arm up as high as you can. Then you're going to take an internal rotation, take it around behind you, and let the baby finger come to the floor. Then lift that arm up. Take it as high as you can. Actually rotate at the shoulder joint to finish that circle forward. Then do 2 more and lift that arm up. Try not to tilt your upper body. Just the shoulder joints rotating. Bring it around. Thumb down. Lift it up. Externally rotate. Bring it around. Baby finger down. 1 more. Lift it up as high as you can. Keep that arm straight. Don't let it bend. Bring it around. Internally rotate. Internally rotate. Take it back. Thumb down. Lift it up. Externally rotate. Bring it around. And lower down. Pause. Let's do the other side. Other arm. Baby finger side down. Keep that arm straight. Lift that arm up as high as you can. Then the rotation is at the joint. Rotate inwardly. Bring that arm around. And then lower it down. Baby finger up. Actually rotate. Bring it around. Baby finger down. Lift it up. Keep it straight. Only the joint is moving. Internally rotate. Take that arm around. Lower down. Lift it up. Externally rotate to bring it around. Baby finger down. Lift it up. Last time. Nice and slow. Rotate at the shoulder joint. Bring it around. Thumb down. Pause. Lift that arm up as high as you can. Right here, externally rotate. Sweep that arm over the head as it comes across. And then lower it down. Pause here in child's pose for a moment. If that's comfortable. If it's not, take another comfortable pose. And then we'll come back to a downward dog. Set your hands, curl the toes under, back you go. Downward facing dog. Compel your heels if you like. And then find some stillness. Find some stillness and just concentrate on breathing. We're going to take 3 deep breaths here. Exhale completely. Take a big inhale. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Come down to your knees. Step the right foot forward. Big step. 90 degrees in the front leg, 90 degrees in the back leg. Reach your arms straight up, holding it here. Then you're going to take the right hand down your back. Try to touch the shoulder blade with your right fingertips. And reach that arm out, internally rotate, take it around behind, but don't touch. Don't let them touch each other. Don't let them touch your back. And then you're going to sweep that left arm around, bring it up as the right arm comes around. So the right hand's going towards your your left shoulder blade, left hand towards your right shoulder blade. Don't let them touch. And then bring them around. And then keep going. So I tend to do a lot of work on shoulders only because that was my problem spot from doing so many what I call crappy chaturangas. So now I spend a lot of time in my body and certainly in my students' bodies mobilizing shoulder joints and then accompanying that with strength. Good. Then you're going to pause, reach it here, just pause here. Take the left hand to the right knee, take your right hand to the breastbone, and then twist to the right. Right hip, hug it in. And the reason I want your hand here is I want you once again, like we did on the floor, to focus on that rotation through the thoracic. And the thoracic spine cut forward, opening to the right. When you've gone as far as you can in your spine, you can reach the right arm out. Lifting up to that center axis of your spine. Keep rotating, finding breath deep in the body. And then slowly bring the arms up. Then we're going to take the hands to the floor. Take the right hand to the inside of the foot. Step the left leg back. Let's do a little bit of lunge work here. So your hands are on the floor. Many of us here, the knee wants to turn away. Pull it in. Squeeze it in as much as you can. Squeeze it in. Hug that right hip in. Just be here in a low lunge. Trying to straighten the back leg as much as you can. And then walk the hands forward, either on your palms or your fingertips. So as much as your upper body is coming forward, your right hip and your left heel are pressing back. Nice deep breaths. Walk your hands in. Left hand either on the floor or on a block or on your fingertips, whatever you have available. Keeping the hips square, going to open the chest to the right. Open it up. Now, where's your left shoulder blade? Is it to the ear? Can you draw it back? Can you feel that left shoulder blade hugging your spine? Keep rotating, and then maybe that right arm will lift. We'll hold for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Bring that right hand down. Step back. And we'll come back to downward facing dog. Hips back, thighs back. Wiggle your bum. But then I always encourage you to find a little bit of stillness. And then we'll bend both legs. Step the left foot forward. So again, 90 degrees, both legs. Posterior tilt, holding it here. Reach those arms straight up. Same thing, we're going to do that work in the shoulder. Let that left hand come down to touch the shoulder blade. Reach the right arm around. Don't let it touch anything. Not each other, not the body. And then go. And then we'll go the other way. Just letting those shoulder joints do the movement. Just feel nice and controlled in your joints. Let's do a couple more. It's really tempting here, especially if you've done a lot of yoga, to grab your wrists. Try not to. Make the movement more about the joints, the stability of the joints, that controlled movement of the joints. Last one. Then we'll take both arms up, rotate to the left. Take the right hand to the outer knee, take the left hand to the breastbone, and then start that rotation. Hips aren't moving, waist is not moving, but really try to move as much as you can through the thoracic part of the spine where we tend to be a little bit more stuck. Then once you've gone as far as you can there, then feel free to extend your arm, but really working your way through that thoracic. And then bring your arm back up. Walk your foot to the left, take the hands to the inside, and then straighten the back leg. Again, your right hand either can be on the palm on the floor, on a block, or on your fingertips. Front leg is bent. Sorry, Shelby. Hugging that thigh in. Oh, I'm sorry. Got ahead of myself. Let's stay here. Squeezing that knee into the arm. Back leg super straight. Push the heel back. And then start to walk your hands forward. Shelby's doing a perfect downward dog. Hugging that thigh in, push the heel back. And then walk the hands in, and then we'll go for the twist. So hand pressing down. Pull that shoulder blade into the body, and then start to rotate. Rotate, rotate. Maybe that left arm reaches up. Holding 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hand to the floor, step back. Let's come to plank, or tabletop, or stay in downward dog. So from here, once again, you're going to move those shoulder blades. Squeeze them together, pull them apart. Squeeze them together, pull them apart. Do not bend your arms. Squeeze them together, pull them apart. It's called scapular push-ups. Squeeze, and then drag them away. Pull them in, drag them away, and then we'll come to downward facing dog. And then we'll bend, come down to knees. Again, I'm going to turn around so you can see me. So this, my 90-90 lunge, not mine, but you know, one of my favorites. Front hip bones are our landmarks. We're going to come into a posterior tilt. You should feel the glutes and the hamstrings on that leg start to light up. You're going to curl the toes under. So just be here for a moment. Your hands can rest on the front thigh, but if I were going to ask you to lift that back knee, I just want you to close your eyes now and visualize. What would you have to do to lift that back knee a little bit off the ground, but not move your torso? Try to keep your shoulders positioned over the hips. So just think about it. Then we're going to try to do it. So really trying not to move your spine, hold those ribs in, curling those toes under, and lifting that back knee. Just a tiny bit, tiny bit. Not too high, barely off the ground. We'll hold. If this is the first time you've done this, you may want to bring your knee back down for resting. If you've been doing it a while, hold it. So we'll do it again. Holding it or lifting and lowering, your choice. Lifting, lowering, or lifting and holding. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pause. Reach your arms straight up. You're going to twist to the right, excuse my back. Then you would curl those toes under. Again, either think about it or do it, holding that twist as you lift that back knee. Hold. 1, front ribs in, tailbone down. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Reach the right arm up, and then release. Hands to the floor, straighten the back leg. This time, sorry Shelby, you're going to pause here. And now you're going to let that knee come ahead of the ankle, and then bring it back. Keep that heel grounded, let that knee come forward. Pull it back. Thank you, Shelby. No. Come forward, and bring it back. Let that knee come as far forward as you can. Really come into dorsiflexion, and then bring it back. Then take it forward. Let that knee come to the back knee, come to the floor, and then let that knee come forward even more. Feel like you've got something at the back of the knee that you're really trying to contract. Just contract. Feel like there's a walnut back there you're trying to crack. Back of the knee, contract. And then bring it back. Step back. Let's come to downward dog. If you want to come into the plank shoulder scapular movement, feel free to do so. And then we'll come down to the knees, and we'll do the other side. Stepping the left foot forward. Front leg is 90, back leg is 90. You want to find that little posterior tilt. So the hip bones are rolling back. This is going to allow the glutes to fire. Underutilized in a lot of our practice. Use those glutes, use the hamstrings. Holding it here, and again, your hand's going to be resting on the front thigh. Think about, if you're going to lift that back knee off the ground, what would have to fire? Think about it. Visualization goes a long way in helping the brain and the body connect. So just think about it. Then, I invite you to try. Curl those toes under and lift that knee. It's a tiny bit. And then maybe lower. Lift and lower. I'm telling you, the tendency will be to do this. Try not. Try to stay as upright as you can. Then, lift and hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Lower. Look at your knee. Did it slide back? Can you keep it under the hip? And raise your arms. You're going to twist to the left. Holding it here. Then again, I invite you to lift that back knee. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hands to the floor. Foot to the left, hand on the inside. Whoops, sorry, I lost you there. Then you let that left knee come forward and then back. I'll do it from the side here. Letting that knee come forward of the ankle and then pull it back. Don't worry about that back leg. If the knee needs to come to the floor, you can. Let that knee come forward and press it back. Let that knee come forward, press it back. Let it come forward, bring that back near the ground now, and go even more. Really deep in that dorsiflexion. Letting that knee come as far forward. Here's my knee, here's my ankle. Let them go. Push that heel into the ground. Keep going. You might feel a nice stretch the back of the ankle. And then pull it back. Step back. Come back to downward dog. Hips back, thighs back. And then once again, just pay attention to your shoulder blades. Can you squeeze your shoulder blades together? Can you spread them apart? Can you pull them together? Spread them apart. So let's just visit a few more classic yoga poses. I'm going to step the right foot to the right hand. Pause here, front leg square-ish, back leg straight-ish. And then you're going to come up into a high lunge position. But in this little high lunge position, I want you to think about the hips being relatively square. Keep that right hip pulling into center. And bend that back leg as much as you need to bring that spine into a more neutral position. Don't want that back arched. Now reach those arms straight up. Pivot your left heel to the floor and we'll open out to Warrior Two. Now in Warrior Two, can you draw the shoulder blades together? So your upper back is holding the weight of your arms, not the shoulder joints. And then keep reaching. Keep lengthening to the side ribs. Maybe bending that front leg a little bit more. Then bring the elbow to the knee and reach that left arm over the head. Kind of spiral the chest open as you reach that arm. Nice deep breaths. Then keeping that leg bent, come back up to Warrior Two. Straighten that front leg, but moving the hip crease back. Lengthen your right ribs over that thigh. And then lower that right arm as you reach the left arm up. Whoops. Nice deep breaths. And then we're going to come back up. We turn the right foot in. Hinging forward in a fold. Hands to the floor. Or blocks. But when you come, try not to round your back. Let the forward action be a hinge as you lower down. And then we'll come up, do the other side. Turn the left foot out, right foot in. Bring it back up into Warrior Two. Extending your arms. Oops, just checking the time. Bend that front leg. Don't let the hips tilt. Try to keep the hips relatively upright. And as you extend those arms, don't have wet noodle arms. Keep them firm. Draw those ribs in. Reach the arms, and then, again, think about your upper back. Holding the weight of your arms, not the shoulder joints. And then elbow to the knee, right arm reaches over the head. That left sitting bone, think about wrapping it under. Pressing the right thigh back. And then slowly coming back up, we'll straighten the front leg. Trikonasana, triangle pose, lengthen over that front thigh. Left arm down and right arm up. And then we'll come back up, turn the left foot in, and then again, hinging forward from the hips. Just coming forward, take the hands to the floor, come onto your fingertips. Can you surge that breastbone forward to the rounding out of your back? And then coming forward. Doesn't matter how far you go, just directing the movement forward from the hinging at the hip joints. Pausing here, head heavy maybe. And then slowly we'll come back up. Walk your feet together. So have your feet be about hip distance apart or so. Let your arms hang, bend your legs. Then we're going to drop the sitting bones and do a little rounding up. Feel like you're stacking every vertebra up over the one below it. Just slowly come up. Pause here. And then tuck the chin and lower down. Legs are bent. Slight bend. One vertebra at a time. Arms are just heavy. As you lower down. And then from here, a few options. You can come into a squat. That's available to you. You can just hang there if you like. It's lifting up to the chest if you're in a squat. Any way you can. And then from here, we are going to sit down. So you're going to sit on a block or a blanket or stacked books, whatever you have available. Just going to end with some favorite hip work. So you're going to bend the right leg, take the right heel to the left sitting bone, and drop the knee. If the knee, is elevated, doesn't quite hit the floor, put something underneath it, another block or a blanket, something underneath it. Then you're going to bring the other leg in, and then this is just a question of where your hips are going to go. You're going to hug in, take the leg around, maybe take the foot to the outer right knee. That left hip doesn't move. And then maybe you can bring it around even more, coming towards a pose we call Gomukhasana. So now squeeze your knees together. Nice tall spine. From here, you're going to hinge the pelvis forward. So sometimes this pose is done just to round your back. Well, I'm not really fond of that. I really want the hips to come forward, and that's the movement. So your hands can support you, and then just letting that pelvis come forward. You can close your eyes here, and we'll take a few deep breaths. Just inhaling deeply. Just being aware of any sensations in the body. And then slowly coming up. Then you're going to lift that knee, either on the inside of the bottom knee or the outside, your choice. Take the left hand around behind. Don't lean, lift up. And then we'll take that right, either hugging that top knee to your chest or bring the elbow around, coming to a nice long spine, and then rotate. And then slowly release, uncross the legs. And then we'll do the other side. Bend the left leg, take the left heel to the right sitting bone. Just checking my time here. Drop the knee, bring the right leg in, cross the foot over. You're going to stop at any of these points. Make sure that right hip is grounded. Bring that knee across. And then again, just the pelvis is going to come forward. And then slowly come back up. Lift that knee, either inside or outside. You're going to twist towards that front leg, either hugging that thigh to your chest or taking the elbow across. Lifting that breastbone up, spine nice and long, and then rotate. With every exhale, you want to feel you're getting a little bit of rotation. And with every inhale, you're trying to lengthen up the spine. And then we'll slowly release. Come off your block. You're going to roll down. Your legs are bent, or you can just lie down any way you want. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to talk you through a short shavasana. So you're going to lie down. Let your arms and legs just be heavy by your side. So I know in our busy world, it's sometimes tempting to forget this last part of the practice, but it's really important to keep doing it. It's taking even just a minute or two. Sometimes I take a long shavasana, sometimes in my practice I take a shorter one, but I never skip it. It's always a great pose to do. Just letting that positive energy of the practice integrate into your body. So I'm going to be cut off here very shortly. So I wanted to thank you for joining me today. It's my pleasure to bring this to you. First time I've done a live stream, so done lots of DVDs, a lot of other film stuff, but never a live stream. So if you have any questions, I'm not able to take the questions because I can't do two things at one time, but feel free to message me with any questions that you may have. And stay calm. We know this will pass, and just do whatever you need to do to keep yourself healthy. And we'll touch base again. Thank you.